The internet, the most interesting place in the whole world. But not for everybody, I guess. Today I can closely, explicitly and detailed explain you how I was locked into a hamster wheel for about a quarter of my life, let's say for about 5 years in total, and how I escaped it. I made this little graphic here so you can tell too at what level you're currently on. So you will not understand what this graphic is meaning, so don't stop the video or bother too much about it. I will give you a little introduction and then tell you what it is actually. So do a little brain exercise and listen to me for a little bit, like 2 minutes. But after some time in the gym, I noticed that the internet is pushing me too in a kind of weird way. Where I was still doing this kind of porn stuff and I was still doing this kind of like video games and stuff. But then I had a big realization where I thought, shit, this stuff, it does not get me anywhere. I do not benefit from spending my time in this. And then I began to understand that I have to like engage in my willpower and I have to engage in my consciousness to put my attention to where I wanted it, but consciously instead of unconsciously. Where porn and video games and social media and media and all and the TV and books and movies and all of this stuff is pulling you subconsciously to some direction. Either you search for gratification, or you're just curious, or you want to be like, and you want to like integrate something more creative in your like stupid and boring like day-to-day life. Is it either one of those? Doesn't matter. It pulls and pushes you at some direction. From this specific point on, I began to actually engage into this kind of push and pull factors and try to align everything into one purpose. And the ability to like choose what you truly want without the influence of any kind of opinion or explanation or favor or like relationship or feelings or emotions. Nothing. I wanted nothing extrinsic to pull or push me to focus on my intrinsic will and energy and align it. And align it in and canalize it to produce and be creative instead of consume and consume and consume and going into one rabbit hole after another. And after this specific happening, my life drastically changed because I was getting out of my old comfort zone of my old self, who was constantly dispersed, or who was constantly like pulled or pushed from someone else, who was constantly extrinsic motivated to do some kind of goal he doesn't even want it to like he doesn't even want it or was convinced to pursue actually and really. And now I will explain my graphic because this is a kind of principle that visualizes this breakthrough. And the two major things that are like important are the decision making process and the opinion making process. These two things do not happen at the same time. First you have the decision making process and then you have the opinion making process. And I will tell you why. Because in the first place, the decision making process is the process where you don't really know where you want to go and where your search is leading to. For example, if you have a new hobby, for example, or in the internet, for example, you get a new kind of way of life recommended. You don't know what to expect, so they just get some incentives. What is an incentive in the internet, right? And commercial, for example, or a trailer, for example. A trailer is the perfect incentive. This trailer is already based on some of your motives. Because like a couple of minutes ago, you searched for some dinosaurs on Wikipedia, you made some research, right? And then the Google Analytics, they directly like concluded, okay, he's interested in that. So the commercials, they adapt and showed you Jurassic Park, for example. So there's already a kind of influence in your motives because the algorithm now knows what they need to present you, so you get some incentives. But then it's also highly dependent on your current situation. As we humans develop in our life, the possibilities, the situations are shifting a lot and increasing. But as young adults, as young children, right, the most of the decisions that are like available to us are in the internet, because we spend the most of our time at our phone, at our computer, at our like TV, for example. It depends on the situation. A kid that never had a phone, that never had a TV, that never had like a kind of computer, who always goes out into nature and explores nature, for example, he does never crave for this kind of, he has not a single urge of the modern kid who already craves for porn and like women and drugs and alcohol and weed and money. He does not even have this kind of urge because he doesn't even have a phone, so it's highly dependent on your situation. But as all of the humans today have phones, the conclusion is really easy, right? So it's in the internet. Out of these incentives now, after you got like exposed to some kind of like trailer or thumbnail or a blog title, you get a specific notion. And now you're on stage 2. And now you're on stage 2, the most important stage. You get a kind of notion, you think, this could be interesting, right? This seems interesting. I need to find out what this kind of video is really about, right? Because this introduction, it seemed so interesting. And Mr. Beast, he showed us like, I don't know, an island and some really expensive cars and like all of this stuff I have never seen in my whole life. I need to find out what's going on. And there's this really interesting music, that's oh dun 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 dun. Oh no, I get the feeling of like something really interesting must happen now. You're getting this kind of notion, and therefore you're getting this kind of expectation that this thing is valuable. You should watch it. You should buy it. You should find out what lies behind this kind of thumbnail. What lies behind this kind of I don't know, this kind of picture, thumbnail, like blog title. You want to find out. You have some expectation. They raised up your expectation. In the first place, you didn't even know that this kind of movie, video even existed. You never had the urge for it. You didn't even crave for it because you didn't even know it. But then you saw, wow, there's something called porn. That's me, like when I was 15. There's something called porn. And there's a lot of like really interesting stuff, right? I think I need to visit this kind of website a lot more because the feeling that I'm getting here in my intimate zone and in my brain, it's really good. I'm feeling really nice because they have created this kind of expectation. Your little pee, it went a little bit up, and now you're going for the hunt. You're hunting the thing of your desire. And this process already gives you a kind of gratification. Think of food. Think of a hamburger, for example. You now ordered the hamburger and now you're waiting and you already know, I will get this kind of gratification. And it will feel fucking sick. Or you're typing in PORN, and while you're already typing, the feelings, they increase. Your dopamine is increasing because you're going to grind the tracks that the dopamine in future will rush through. And in order to explode your emotions, you need this kind of tracks as slippery as possible. So the dopamine and all of your neurotransmitters, it's called neurotransmitters, look it up on the internet. This is a little thing I know about science. They are ready. They are ready to get rushed. It's just called conditioning. Neural pathway conditioning. That's all about. You can call it neural pathway conditioning, but this is included in this kind of gratification process. It's just included. It's like the spit coming up when you see nice food, or your pee gets up when you see something interesting. I think you know what I'm talking about. So the really unmagical moment is the usage. I don't think I need to talk about the usage so much. One little interesting fact is the duration of this kind of feeling, the gratification feeling, can be extended tremendously. Some people masturbate, or like having like these kind of masturbating machines where they like uh, stretch arousal for hours, for really many hours of the day. Or imagine, yeah, like your best girlfriend, who has like nothing to do in her life. She's like on TikTok for, I don't know, like 3 or 4 hours or 5 hours a day without having a single thought. So this kind of gratification durations, you can extend them like brutally. So the usage, the activity, it can be extended like for a really long time, which makes it so addictive, which makes it so magical. So now you got your gratification, or you didn't got your gratification. When you didn't got your gratification, you just begin from zero. So by getting some other incentives, like for example, the thumbnail wasn't interesting enough, and the video too, the video was like boring as hell, and they told you that like that like consuming is like bad, and you thought like, what the fuck is he talking about? I don't want to watch this shit anymore. And then you're searching for another like much more gratification, like much more interesting video from Mr. Beast or something, and getting like completely drained in your head. Or you got your gratification, and when you got the gratification in the first time, for me, like when I was watching porn the first time when I was 15, I evaluated a lot. I evaluated so much. I thought, holy shit, I need to extend this kind of feeling much more, because my body, it felt so great, because it was so new. It was the first time that I was seeing this, and I thought I need to extend this feeling much more. This is the evaluation when you think, when after this is the evaluation after the process of consuming, is that you need, is the urge that you need to consume more, and therefore you adapt. And the adaptation process is the most ironic process in the human race. Like think of an athlete that was like winning in his life. He was like getting records. Everybody liked him. Everybody was looking up to him. He was like so strong mentally, like a brutal mental machine. He was succeeding, and he was like, his parents were proud of him. And then he discovered porn and social media, and then he like shut it him down for, I don't know, like 8 hours a day, and was like barely eating and exercising, and therefore he got a Jeffrey, right? This would be an adaptation process. You're adapting your life to a specific kind of gratification, to a specific kind of goal, to a specific kind of mindset. Like, we guys, we are interested in self-improvement, and so we align ourselves and adapt, and we go gym, and we go like cold approaching, and we go like, I don't know, we're doing a lot of stuff, right? We adapt, we configure our lives to our goal. We deep work. So this is a kind of adaptation process of a person. Really easy, right? After you configured yourself, and like introduced all of this kind of good habits, and pushed away and washed away all of your bad habits, for example. Now you never journaled in your whole life, but now you're journaling, which means you adapted to this self-improvement philosophy. But after you adapted, after you began to journal, after you like went into the gym, after you made some videos on YouTube, after you like got a girlfriend, after you hit the 10K a month, you you don't stop here. You cannot stop, right? Because if you're stopping, you're not progressing, and if you're not progressing, you don't feel good. Even progress is gratification, and a human cannot stop. A human is always searching, always searching. We are not the Buddhist. We didn't like gave up on earth. We didn't give up to find new relevant stuff. This is why our world is dying, our nature is dying, because we humans, we always crave for more. So, and this is why we just begin by another, like, just begin the cycle is like, this is the cycle we like just cycle through. So here's the most interesting fact. After you understand what I'm saying, the conclusion now is really easy to understand too. You always get incentives. You cannot shut down completely. You cannot be a monk. You have to expose yourself to some kind of like incentives. It's impossible. Even then, after you saw some nice girl, your PP goes up. You cannot do anything about it because this is the man's nature. He gets attracted by girls when he's like 15 or 50 or 59. Doesn't matter. He will get attracted in his PP and his PP goes up. This is a normal natural principle. You cannot even you cannot engage in this kind of process. You cannot engage and like change this in your brain pattern. But what you definitely and like brutally can change actively is the gratification surge. You saw the thumbnail, but you don't click on it. You read the title, but you don't click on it. You saw the pop up of the, I don't know, naked girl, but you didn't click on it. You saw the chocolate is half the price, but you didn't bought it. Your girlfriend left you, but you didn't hated her. You didn't cried. You didn't send her hate messages or send her nudes to someone else. You have yourself under control, which means training your willpower. Going this pathway at the same time means that you will actively engage and train your brain and also getting out of the ever coming cycle of the hamster wheel. So this is pretty easy, right? So if you understand it and you're not taking action, you're like a complete fool. So just take action and push through the pain, so you and your children can be proud of yourself in the future. Always push through pain. Peace, bro.